All right. Episode 2 of Mixing Tight and Fat Drums. So if you haven't seen episode number 1, go check that out. I get into, why you'd want a tight and fat drum sound, the overheads, the kick drum. So this one, we're getting into the snare and the toms. Let's go. So the snare, same thing. You're going for tight and fat. Take the beginning of the snare drum, and measure it. And then we're going to just, boost that up so we can see better. From here. Let's do this. From here to there. 136 samples earlier the snare top is than when the overheads hear it. So, close enough. Okay? So just know that's going to be there, but let's actually back up a step and hear what this snare sounds like. This by itself. And dry. Yeah? Okay. Transformer saturation. Shep's omni-channel, and some more saturation here. High passing 79. Again, you don't need anything below that, really. It's just going to get in the way of kick drum and the bass. So adding fatness, centered around, we're starting at, 130. Cutting 240, adding 1,000, and then a high shelf adding at 4,300. The oral exciter adding just a little bit more crispiness. This was actually off. The 1176 here wasn't actually using that. The time adjuster, we know what that is. What's this doing? Okay, pulling off a tiny little bit of high end here. So I'll bring these on one at a time for this snare top. And that's not going to do anything until we hear it against the overheads. So let's do that actually. Here it is against the overheads. Yeah, not quite as tight. So, but again, the phasing, let's make sure we got the phasing right. The time adjust, a little of that. See now, when you add that time adjust, this may need to be flipped back the other way. Let's check it out again. Watch this. So what sounds better, that or this? Probably that, right? That's why it was off. So then snare bottom. Same type of thing, same treatment, really. Even a lot of the EQ points are really similar. If you're going to be high passing the snare drum, which you should every time, somewhere, you're gonna want to be the same as the snare top, snare bottom, snare side if you have one. Going to be high pass all at the same frequency. So, and then these need to be phase adjusted to themselves as well, and then really almost listen to again to make sure that the snare overall is then phase adjusted to the whole overheads again. So it's all kind of just sometimes you might make a choice about what sounds better phase wise for one one mic against the overhead, and then you go on to the under of the snare, and then the top may need to change depending on just what sounds better. You just got to listen. So okay, let's see. Let's add this snare bottom in. And if I reverse the phase of the snare bottom, a little fatter with it, reversed. And in general, the snare top and the snare bottom should be phase reversed from each other. So yeah, if this is, not flipped, and this should be flipped, if you didn't flip something on your board. Okay, that's good. So then same type of thing. And then the snare side. So that's that. Let's add these kick drums back in here. Okay, so moving on to the toms. Let's see what this thing sounds like dry. Tom 1. Yep, okay. And then, you hear all that. You just don't want that going on. Sometimes for a rock sound, that sounds great. Just all that extra, ambience and energy, leave it in for certain things. But right now we're talking about tight and fat drums, right? So, you don't want all that stuff going on there. And actually, normally I am actually going through and tediously just chopping stuff out. Every tom hit, every time. And then you can, you can just kind of like fade it out so that, that's a little too short, right? But so that's not what I did. I actually just threw a gate on. And if we just put that gate on, that's kind of what you want to hear, only the tom and nothing else. You got to set that threshold correctly. I go for about as fast of attack as you could possibly put on there, because you don't want to be cutting off the beginning of the sound. You got to hold it long enough and let it release long enough so that it sounds natural. Let's see. And basically, other than that, just get it out of the way after that, right? So if you don't get the threshold right, though, that's not what you want to hear. Kind of want to just, that's fine, right? So you can kind of hear that, even a little bit of the second tom opening that threshold up a little bit. All right, so let's look at what else I got on here. More transformer saturation. This is actually automated, probably because some of the other songs, it just need to be different. Probably isn't going to be changing much for this particular song. Adding a little bit of highs there, and a little bit of mids at 38. Just cutting the hair. High passing again. A rack tom. This is a 10-inch tom. Again, like, how much do you want to have that thing, booming below 80 hertz? It's not a bass instrument. You want it to be warm and fat, and not interfere with the low end. So that's what's going on there. And cutting out some more mid-range here. Yeah, because this is actually an atypical amount of mid-range low mids to cut from a tom. Just doing a little bit there, but handling most of that boxiness removal right here. And then a little bit of compression. And again, time adjusted. Start of the tom, measuring between that and where you hear it in the overhead, adjusting for that much. And, just it gets that much tighter. So let's play it. And add the transformer saturation a little bit, and then the sheps. Cutting that low mids out. Oh, and the compressor was on the whole time. All right, and that's fine. That's doing a lot of compression, but that's okay. So That's what it needed.